What's going on, guys? It's Chris here. Welcome back to the next episode of Learning R with Chris. In this video, we're going to be talking about workflow in R and RStudio. And by that, I mean like how you're actually going to go about working on your projects in R and RStudio. So you might be like kind of noticed that we've only done things in the console so far. And you might be wondering like, why did we download RStudio when we could have just downloaded base R and worked in the console there. Well, I just wanted to show you guys that the console does have a lot of value and that for simple one-liners, it's maybe all you need. But you can get more complicated things for if you want to write reports or want to run multiple commands in one place and different stuff like that. So the first, kind of the next step up from the console that I'll show you guys is R scripts. So I have one on my computer here. This is also available to you guys. So if you look in the description, you should be able to find this from the last video, like all the commands from the previous video. So basically what an R script is it's just a bunch of commands like after each other, right? And just so you guys know, this is a comment here. So anytime you have text after one of these pound symbols, it's basically R is not going to run that part of the code. So if it runs this line, it's just going to load in the tidyverse. So in RStudio, if you highlight a line and then you click run, then it'll execute that line for you. And likewise, if you highlight multiple lines, it'll execute those multiple lines at once. Hold on, I just need to switch my working directory so that this code will actually run here. There we go. So now if I actually like highlight this whole script and then I hit run, then there we go. It just ran all the commands that I did in the previous video. So computers are nice and fast, so that it did it in a blink of an eye, and you guys can kind of see firsthand how the value of like having a script, right? Having all these commands in one place and being able to run multiple lines at a time, it's definitely a nice step up from just pumping commands into the console. So that's pretty much it for R scripts. The next thing I want to show you guys is actually a bit more interesting. It's RMarkdown. So right in RStudio, if you go to File, New File, and then you go to RMarkdown, put a title in here that'll display on the output document. So let's just call this R with Chris workflow. There we go. And don't worry about the output format right now. We'll just do the default. And this is an RMarkdown document. So I'll just kind of like compile this and show you what the final output looks like. And then I'll kind of go into explaining what it's about. So if I knit this is what it's called, then it'll output basically the document for me. So what do we have here? So you can see that we have headers in line with some regular text. We have links here, and then this is R code, and then you can also include like plots. And so this is like the default R Markdown document, just to like to kind of get you guys started. That R will have every time you make a new R Markdown document. But I'd prefer to just show you guys with my own little example here, just because we'll just start from the basics. So the first thing you guys want to know about an R Markdown document is up here. So up here is where you're going to be kind of giving these like key value pairs, indicating basically telling R what you want the final output of your document to look like. So we're telling it that it's going to be an HTML document with this title. And this is also the place where you'd maybe say, tell R that you want a table of contents, or maybe that you want the output to be like a PDF document or something. So you guys can kind of look at like an R Markdown cheat sheet or something yourselves to kind of figure out all the different variations you can do and different cool stuff you can do with R Markdown. I'm just giving you guys a brief intro. Then after these, like the text enclosed with these pair of dashes here, you're going to have the body of your R Markdown document. Now this is what's going to like show up in the final document. So here you can, like I said, you can put like regular text. So if I just put some sample text here, and then I can save this, and then if you hit this knit button, that's basically what it's going to convert it, how it's going to convert it to your final output. And we see we have our nice title and then some sample text. So that's nice. You can also do some like formatted text as well. So if you want like italics, or if you want, I think this is bold. Sorry, this is not italics. What am I thinking? This is italics. We will talk about the dollar signs later, but you see it gives us this nice color coding to tell us that it is reading our output as something different than regular text, right? So if we hit the knit button, we can see we have nice italics and bold writing. So that's really nice. If we also want to have like headers and different subsections of our document, that can be done with these hash symbols, right? So some header, some text under that header. And then the number of hashtags kind of indicates like how important, or like the different subsections, right? So this might be like a subsection of some header up there. Can't type, subsection, some more text. All right, so if we want to take a look at that, hit the knit button, and we see we have this subsection, which it's indicated by being a bit less, like the font size is a bit smaller than the header. And then of course we have our text just under that. So you might be asking, well, we're not here to write Microsoft Word documents, like what does this have to do with R? Well, we can actually insert R code just like this up here. This is like the setup where you're basically telling the document like what kind of how it wants to handle your code and stuff. But we can actually insert like regular R chunks here and do all the stuff we were doing before. So we can, you know, assign vectors, we can do arithmetic, and everything we could in like R scripts, or even in the console, we can do here just in these code blocks. So if you want to run an individual code block, there's a little play icon over here, and it'll show your output kind of like in live action here. Or alternatively, if you just hit the knit button, this kind of like this darker box here will show you the code and then the output. Now there are some options that you can actually give in these squiggly braces to tell R whether you actually want to see your code or not, and how it wants your results printed and stuff. So if we say, so by default, we set echo equal to true up here in the setup, but we can also change that for individual code chunks by saying here echo is going to be false, and that means I don't want to show them the code, I just want to show them the output. And you can kind of imagine how this would be useful in some kind of setting where you're presenting some kind of report, because they don't really want to see like the gory details, they just maybe want to see your plots or something, right? So if we do that and then knit it to our final document, then you can see we just get the output of doing like x plus 5 here, right? So that's really cool. So you may be wondering about the output, right? Like maybe HTML isn't really going to work for you. Maybe you want to knit to PDF. Well, you actually, by default, just with the regular RStudio and R installation, you can't by default knit to PDF. If you guys actually want to do that, then I'll get you to go ahead and put these commands in. So you're going to want to install this package called TinyText. And for those of you that aren't familiar with TinyText, it's just a smaller installation of LaTeX, which is like a language for writing like fancy reports and like math equations and stuff. So if you don't have LaTeX installed on your computer, then you can go ahead and install this package with this command, obviously without the hashtag though, so just like that. And then once you've done that, you're going to want to go TinyText. So this is telling R you want to use the TinyText package, and then use this command, install tinytext. So the first command basically installs the tinytext package on R, and this will actually install tinytext on your computer. So if you do that once it all installs and stuff, it may take a little bit of time. And then once that's all done, just to check that you've done everything right, you can put this command in as well, and that should return true if the installation went correctly there. So once you've done that, if you go to this drop-down menu on the knit options, and you go to PDF, and then now you can see that we actually knitted straight to a PDF document, which might be useful, I don't know, if you just don't want HTML for whatever reason. And another useful thing, now that you actually have this tinytext installed on your machine, is you can actually write really nice LaTeX equations right in line with your RMarkdown document as well. So let's just do an example here. This is an inline math equation, and we will do my favorite math equation because I like statistics. So this pair of dollar signs indicates that you're about to write some math. So if you don't know what LaTeX notation, then you can either look it up as you need it, or if you just don't want to use it, then you can ignore this. But if we want to do some LaTeX, then we can say x bar is equal to 1 over n times the sum I equals 1 to n of xi. There we go, and it gives you this little preview as well. So as you're typing your equation, you'll see what it'll look like in the final output. And then let's see what that looks like for us once we knit it. There we go. So we have our nice PDF document we have headers, italics, bold, and different subsections. And then we have some really nice looking inline math equations as well. So hopefully that gave you guys a flavor of why RMarkdown is really powerful. And if you guys don't need to be writing any of this report writing, or if you can basically just work with these simple comments, then you really don't need RMarkdown. But if you just want to make things look prettier for the people you're presenting your work to, then it's a really good tool. And also these code chunks are really useful. And then another thing I forgot to mention is you probably saw it here though. It has support for these other languages too. Like if you want to do some bash scripting, or even have some Python code chunks in there, or connect to a database, for example, it's all stuff that you can do in this one document, right? So it's really awesome. But yeah, that's it for my RMarkdown. This was obviously a super kind of short intro to it. If you go look up RMarkdown cheat sheet, then it'll tell you all the different things you can do, and it's really pretty in depth, and it's a really nice markup language. So until the next time, we're probably going to be looking at how to actually summarize data in R, and this was kind of just a little aside about how to work in R, because I know you guys are getting tired of the console. All right, so that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys later, and peace out.